welcome to episode 4 of the Catalyst Effect podcast. I'm your host, Klaus, and with me, as always, is Crypto Hado and Missy. What's up, boys?
What's up? What's up?
Yo, what's going on, Clouds? Got my Shrapnel merch on. You already know what it is.
I see you, man. You're representing Shrapnel hard, which is perfect because we're going to talk about them today in the podcast. So that's perfect. That's a sick hoodie, though. I'm not going to lie. And I like the hat, too. I've been wanting to buy new hats, so maybe I need to hit up their store.
Yeah, it's also a trucker hat, which is like actually a guilty pleasure of mine. I love wearing trucker hats. I don't know why, but it's just so like I have a Cardano trucker hat as well. And I also like to wear dad hats, too. That's what it's called on Amazon anyways. But yes. I just like wearing those hats over the flat ones.
Yeah, my head is not shaped for like a dad hat per se. They're like too tight on me. So I either wear like a snapback like this one or a I guess like a baseball cap is what you would call them, right? Like the
the
ones
hats
that have like the logo. Yeah. So that's what I wear. But I don't like trucker hats because of the little part that has like all the little nettings. You know, in the back.
I love that part, dude.
Really?
That's what it's all about, brother.
I don't know. It feels weird in my head. I don't know. But hey, Missy, what's up with you, bro?
I'm all about trucker hats and fitteds. I love fitted hats. Yeah, I'm doing great,
fitted
man.
Hats. What the hell is a fitted hat? Is that like a Supreme, like the Supreme
Nah, fitted.
Hats
it's like the super flat Yankee hats. You know, the ones that everyone from New York wears.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But those hats
that I was talking about.
Yeah, they don't have the strap.
Have the adjustable part.
Yeah, they don't have the adjustable part.
Yeah, the ones that don't have the. Yeah, that's the one I have. I have the Boston one that I always rock on stream. If you've seen me before,
yes, sir. I've been great, man. It's been, sorry, not to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
It's been an interesting week. We hosted a parallel tournament in Paladins. We learned a lot about how to run a tournament properly for the next time. I think we could have done better in certain things, but overall, some people were having technical difficulties. Some people had a lot of fun. All a learning experience at the end of the day. And we have a pretty big tournament event coming up with that. So good practice.
How did that go, though? When did because I was trying to cash it. I don't know if you guys ended up streaming it or not, but I was trying to cash some type of like POV of it, but I couldn't find it. How did it go? Who ended up winning?
It's still ongoing. We just finished the first round. We're in the middle of the second round right now. So what we're experimenting with is, instead of doing everything on stream, we're actually experimenting with having people record and then having people shoutcast over the recordings. So that it's easier to deal with so many people's schedules. Because the thing about doing like any type of tournament or esports event in Web3 is you have some people in Asia, you have some people in the States, some people in Europe. So it's really hard to get everyone together. So we've been trying to pair up people one at a time, like, oh, are you guys free today at 8? They record their match together. And then once the recordings are all submitted, we'll actually go ahead and have someone shoutcast over it. And it's experimental. We want to see how it works. Logistically, it's been pretty convenient, but I feel like it's missing like a certain level of excitement, if I'm being honest. So we want to experiment and see what we can figure out as far as like global esports.
Hey guys, remember to elevate your audio game with Riverside.fm. Clear recordings for your podcast made easy. Click on the link in the description to get started now. That makes a lot of sense though. So you guys are going to basically record it offline and then put it together as a production piece, like edit it all together and like showcase like content behind the tournament.
Yes.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm excited to see that when it comes out.
I have a question about that. Is that going to be like a whole event that's going to be kind of episodic and cut up, or is that going to be like each match is going to be its own video kind of thing?
So we were thinking of just doing it. Each match is its own video, and I think that we're still deciding whether we want to put it together all in one episode or just have each match be its own video. I think there's value in making the one episode and then cutting it up anyway. You kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So that's probably what we'll experiment with. But ultimately, it was something more along the lines of we wanted to get the first little tournament out of the way. And, Parallel is a game that everyone's interested in. We were able to get some really cool people involved. And just to gain the experience, learn what it's like to try to run a competition online where you have so many different time zones involved. And we also wanted to try out the recorded model of it because we want to do bigger tournaments that involve multiple communities in the future. So I think next time we'll experiment with live streaming certain bits of it so that people can still be excited as it's going on.
Well, if you need any outside hires or freelance or just volunteer of shoutcasting, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring on that one.
You are a really good shoutcaster, so that would be pretty entertaining.
And
yeah, appreciate that.
And we have had a couple.
But hey, listen, has there been any complaints about like pay to win? Like, like has any of the people participating like complain about like, yo, I don't have this car and like, like the only way to get it is to buy this, blah blah blah.
So we did we had complaints about that before the tournament started. So what we did was the tournament is base decks only. People have to compete with just base decks.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because we wanted to make it fair, but we're realizing there's a certain balance issue with parallel. And it's basically whoever has the first turn wins about 80% of the time. So that kind of sucks, to be honest with you. And I think it's something that we've noticed during the tournament and that we're going to reach out to Parallel and let them know. Because we had one guy that just kind of raged because he lost all 3 matches in a row. And because he went second all 3 times. And you're at a major disadvantage when you go second. So it was very fair.
It sounds like they have a lot of cars that activate in the first round, like like the first
that
turn.
And because
maybe like too many cars that effects that are like activated.
A lot of it has to do with like the mana system as well, the energy system that they have. So if you go first, you get a slight advantage because of it, and that's what we're learning. But unless we test these things, we're not going to find out, and that's why they're still in beta. So it's actually really cool that throughout this process, we were able to find certain flaws within Parallel that are balancing changes that need to be made. Because devs aren't going to find these things out until they start seeing it in practice.
Yeah.
And
true.
Yeah, and it's like that's true. And you guys are doing it in a tournament format. You get me? So like that's pretty cool. Because you see like high competitive like players trying to be like, as competitive as possible. So if they're having issues in that format, that shows like a lot of feedback for the developers to fix those bugs.
And I forgot to mention that we did have a couple people live stream their battles. Like Dub went against Mike,
cool.
And he was freaking cackling like a maniac the entire time because Dub, like Dub's a really good gamer in any game. So Mike definitely had his work cut out for him, and unfortunately for Mike, it didn't work out too well. And Dub was streaming that, and Mike was also streaming his POV, so that was pretty cool. And I think we had like 1 or 2 other people stream their stuff. So we did have a couple of live streams, but I think of something else that we learned throughout the process is we should have probably communicated that better so people knew where to see some sort of like live content.
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, it's all a learning experience, man. Running tournaments is not an easy thing to do. So like the fact that you guys were able to do in so short time notice and it's still going on, like, props to you guys. I'm excited to see the content that comes out of that, man. For sure.
It's been a big learning experience, a lot of fun, and it's something that we'll look back on and kind of just be nostalgic for in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I had a crazy ass stream yesterday. As you guys know, I have a hobby of mine that's really nice. I have a lot of fun doing it. And yesterday we came back to it, man, and we went hard as fuck. We opened about like $800 worth of cases. Listen, Hado, stop laughing at me, all right? This is profit, man. Okay, this is all planned out. This was strategic planning at its best. I already have, dude. I'm pretty close to getting an ROI out of this. So I'm thinking I'm doing pretty well. We hit a knife that's worth around $730. We only open about like I would say around $200 worth of keys. I still have like around 80 cases to go. So I'm doing pretty well. Pretty well.
I want to spam the copium emote so bad.
It seems like you're definitely going to end up with a profit. So, I mean, at the end of the day, your hobby is rewarding you.
Bro, we don't use that word.
It sounds like you broke even, and I'm happy and glad for you. Now, there's still more cases to be opened. You could go up in profit, But I mean, look, the dopamine, I get it. It's a nice thing to do, but like, you don't even play the game though. Like, you don't even play CS:GO anymore.
I do play, man. It's just
Anymore.
Farlight has been taking a little bit of my time, but I'm waiting for CS2. It's not my fault that we don't have access to it, you know. But I did get a nice message the last. Well, I did get a message when I logged in last time, saying that access is going to be distributed at random to people that have been playing CS. What?
You know, the requirement for that is like you have to have like a certain amount of rank in the game, and then you have to have something else. So like you have the skins, you have the playtime. I'm sure rank up and play CS2.
I gotta get on that, bro. I gotta get on that. But
how are you gonna sell that? How are you gonna sell that market to people? Be like, look at my skin. Look at my skin. Everyone's moving to CS2. You gotta keep up with the times so that way you can take advantage of that profit you just could lock in.
To tell you the truth, I don't really care about like promoting that because I just like collecting the skin for my own, like, you know, emotional connection to them. So I don't really care about CSGO because the last time I sold something, I couldn't even distribute the fucking funds out of my account. You know, if I can't take out the money of what I'm selling, what's the point, bro? You know, I had $2,000 sitting in my fucking wallet.
Wait.
And I had to spend
you
it on
distribute the skins from CS1 to CS2?
What you...
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It carries over. Absolutely. Which is something that Valve is doing that's correctly, and it's actually looking for, you know, looking out for their players.
This is my final question then. With that being said, that it's a emotional attachment. There's no value. You don't care about that. You can't take it out anyways. Then how are you in profit? How are you in profit? Please explain that to me.
Because the funds were already in my Steam wallet. So if I spend $800 that I could only spend on Steam, right? And before I even reached the $800 amount, I hit a knife that's worth $700.
Right.
Technically, I'm in profit, yes.
But you don't want to sell it because you like it.
I don't want to sell it, yes. So I'm not at profit until I sell it. But yeah.
Okay, so I guess the value will have him in profit. Okay.
Listen, bro, why are you guys trying to find a problem with my love for CSGO cases? I don't understand this banter that you guys have against me opening cases when I'm just trying to have fucking fun in a video game, dude.
He's an emotional prophet, apparently.
Listen, all that matters is that I'm having a good time opening cases and I'm getting dope shit that I like to show off. All right.
Cool. That's nice. Let's move on.
And all you guys do is hate on it, bro. So, yes, let's move on. Let's move on to more important topics, all right? Let's talk about another game like fucking CSGO, but owned by Activision. No, fuck your week for a second, bro, because I'm pissed about this, all right? Because you have games like Warzone just fucking stealing from people, bro. But I'll let Missy talk.
Well,
we'll go back to
what I was going to say is what I do like is that at least CSGO allows you to switch it to CS2, unlike certain games, you know, Call of Duty, Warzone, you piece of shit. But before we get to that, Hado, how was your week, man?
Oh, it's not important. The streaming and basketball, people can't guard me from the three. They can't guard me in the paint either, and I'm 5'9". I don't know. Nothing really important. We can move on to Warzone.
Steph Curry over there, bro.
I'm Chef Curry.
Chef Curry. No, yeah, man, but how do you guys feel about it? How do you guys feel about what Warzone is doing, right? Because I think it's fucking bullshit. I also think partially is the community is at full because the Call of Duty community is so numb to the treatment from Activision. You get me? They're so used to that every year they treat them like that. Every year it's the same shit. None of the skins carry over to the game. So this has been happening for a while. The only difference is that this time the game is shutting down, right? Nobody's going to be able to play it ever again. So it's just like, I personally feel like that's why I left Call of Duty in the first place, you know, and it came to Web3. But so many people that complain about this have been feeding to just, you know, I'm confident that half of the people that are complaining about this are going to go to GameStop when the MW3 comes out and purchase a game. You get me? Like
100%.
So it's like, dude, you know, one of the Uptick players, Uptick Formal, he said something on stream where he said Call of Duty is like the ex-girlfriend that she's on you and you keep going back to.
It's beautiful.
And dude, that's such a perfect description. You get me? It's so true. That's like literally what Activision is.
And
that shit killed me, bro. That shit killed me.
Call of Duty and Activision gamers are an abusive relationship. At the end of the day, that guy is 100% on point. They will defend Call of Duty just like that ex that cheated on you and you go back to, right? They'll find reasons to defend them, in any way, shape, or form. We'll tell them, hey, you guys just got rugged, because that's what it is. It's a rug. They got all their funds are useless now. Yep. All the time spent is useless. They've been rugged of their time and their money. And these dorks are like, oh, but Call of Duty, fuck NFTs. Their NFTs are a scam, right? How is this not a scam? How is this not a scam?
Well, half of those people will argue that the whole point is that they can do the same thing to NFTs, right? Like if a developer decides to shut down your game, you lose the NFT value, or like the token is worth nothing, right? But dude, at least you have the possibility, even if that point is true, which is not. That's a lot of uneducated like facts going on in that statement. But even if that was true, at least you had the time period before that happens to actually sell and trade your skins, So
let me give it to you straight. Let me give it to you straight, guys. Gamers don't know what they want. All right. And before everyone comes with their pitchforks and torches and whatever they want to throw at me, right? Listen to me. You guys don't know what the fuck y'all want. Because anytime that anyone innovates, oh, this isn't like the last game, I don't like it. And then it's like, oh, this is just like the last game, I want something new. Pick a fucking side, first of all. And here's the other thing, too. You're right to use that girlfriend example, because is anyone really surprised that a centralized Web 2 company did this? I'm not surprised at all. What happened when PS2 servers went down? People that are PS2 are fucked. About the Wii people, when Wii went down, and Wii U as well, those people are fucked. And it's like, you have to get with the times and continue to go forward. You can't stay in the past, so to speak, because these Web 2 companies don't think in the past. They don't think legacy or longevity. They think forward thinking, and they think, how can we make people convert to the new game? They don't care about all this money you just spent. Yeah. They don't care about your feelings on all the things you just spent. All they care about is their profit margins and budget, and how can they make more users into long-term users, right? And I would argue that this is a move they made to make people into long-term users. And the reason why I say that is because the people that are on the legacy systems and legacy games that aren't moving up with the next game, they're hindering. They're always gonna be a problem child for that Web 2 company. Like, how do we get those people in there? Let's just pull the plug, right? Well, what is the solution here, right? Because we like to think of solutions here at Catalyst. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Web3 equal solution is a solution, right? Because Web3, they have their own little scandals here and there. The solution is for these centralized entities to give these people something to make them move up into the next realm. You know what PlayStation did with their PS3? PS3 to PS4. They offered some words of backwards compatibility at first, right? And then they kind of pulled that from the rug. And then Xbox did that with their
Game Pass
games. Well, it was games on Xbox before it was Games Pass, right? Yeah. Then they pulled that with the rug, and they were like, now we have Games Pass, right? So they found a way to tie everything in legacy-wise. Is all your purchases like still there? Probably not, but at least they found some kind of way to move forward, but stay in the past, right? And that's what Warzone should have done. Instead of like pulling the rug from people, transfer all that data, offer people a window to transfer all that data, or an opportunity at least to transfer all that data or move the accounts over, whatever. So that way that people that spent all their hard-earned money didn't get screwed over in the first place. But are we really surprised that this company did this? Absolutely not. I mean, they churn games out every fucking year. And it's that gray area where it's like, are they innovating enough every time they make a new game, or do people want the same shit? It's a mixture of both, right? And so for them to just pull the plug entirely, like that was not the way to go about it, obviously.
At all. And let me tell you, I'm not surprised at all, right? Like to me, and I love the solution that you came up with, right? But I don't think Activision is looking for a solution, or in their case, they don't need one, right? Because they know that their product is gonna get bought by the consumers, right? They know that their consumer base, their targeted audience, has a culture already built that they're going to buy the next game, the next title, when it comes out the next year. You get me? They're going to go for that midnight release or whatever. They're going to get early access through the digital Microsoft store or the PlayStation store or whatever. You get me? They're going to pre-order the game. They already know that. So by doing that, like you can create like shitty situations for your game and you're still going to make the money that you need to make, right? Because Activision as a company, that's all they care about. They just care about making capital, making money, making ways to make money out of all of their products, right? Such as, okay, I'm not making money out of Warzone 1 anymore. Let's rug it. Let's close it down. It doesn't matter because they're going to have to be forced to move over to the next one. And we know that our bigger target audience is going to do that, right? Because Call of Duty, everybody knows from a content perspective, where does it come from? Mostly from the esports side, right? Like the professional gamers, like the people, like the organizations making content around that world, right? And the streamers, right? The content creators are streaming the game, doing challenges, going for like nukes, all that type of stuff, right? But that's not their biggest target audience. The biggest target audience is the casual players, right? The consumers that just play the game casually to blow up steam, that go to the store and buy the games consistently every year, right? And that's the target audience that they're trying to hit. That's what they're making all their models after. They won't care if we shut down the game because they're just going to buy the newest one, the better game, the one that's going to bring them all this new like concepts and stuff like that they can do, right? Like, for example, what you mentioned, Hado, with Microsoft, right? Why did they have to do a Game Pass for me to have backward compatibility to games that I had already owned or played, right? Or pay for? For example, I now have to pay $14.99 every month to access all those games that nobody's playing anymore. Like, that makes no sense. That should have been a free product, right? I should be able to access that for free because I already purchased it or played it in the past, and now I'm playing in a server where nobody else is playing. You get me? So I don't know, man. It's really weird, but I don't think Activision is looking for any type of solution. I think they have a model that's been working for years, and no matter how much we complain about it, it's not going to change, which leads to the question, do we want to even onboard these gamers, right, these audiences, into our ecosystem of Web3 when the mentality that they have is like, no, we don't need innovation. We don't need ownership. We can just accept like a game bullying us and taking away our assets whenever they want, and we're just going to spend our money over and over again the next year.
That,
you get me?
No.
So
we don't need those gamers at all. I think we need to think about creating a new wave of gamers with certain amount of, I guess, with certain amount of spend that a lot of these games have spent in developing their game. They are going to want the Web 2 casual gamer to become, like, I guess, a Web 3 gamer, blockchain gamer, whatever you want to call it. But when I was listening to Sinjin speak in a Twitter space the other day, and he made a very valid point. And the point that he made was, when mobile gaming came out, they didn't try. I know it's like a different medium, but when mobile gaming came out, they didn't try to take PC gamers. Mobile gamers were just born. Mm-hmm. It became something that was very approachable for someone on the go, or for, a mom that has kids and can't game. Like, mobile is very, very family friendly. It's very like work friendly. And what ended up happening there is, he's absolutely correct. It did bring in like a new wave of gamers. And I think that the responsibility for Web3 gaming is to find that new wave. I think that's something that a lot of games aren't looking at, is the developing generation, all these younger generations. If blockchain gaming, if Web3 gaming is something that's considered normal to them, the same way that by the time we got to high school, at least my age, I'm 29, by the time we got to high school, mobile gaming was kind of already becoming normal. Our earliest version of that was like paper toss. Like, instead of paying attention in class, I'd play paper toss for like half an hour. So I think that if Web3 gaming is introduced in a way that is normalized for the younger generation, it'll just create a new wave of gamers that accept that as a reality, rather than trying to force all of the current market into something that they don't want anyway.
Yeah, you have to go back to what is the demand, right? The demand for the product is to have a good experience. And let's be honest, the average Call of Duty person is the 9 to 5 worker, probably 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. And when they log on to Call of Duty, they want to unleash all the demons from normal life. And that's why you have so many toxic people that are just on there shooting the shit or playing music through their mic. Whether it's good or bad music is up to your discretion, right? But those are the kind of players that you're getting from Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
Specifically Call of Duty. And whenever you talk about like, do we want people from Web3 or from that Web2 realm into Web3? I don't think you can sell them ownership or things like that because they're not looking for that in the first place. They're looking for an escape from reality. And the games that offer an escape from reality in Web3 that are easy to access and get into, that product will meet the demand because that anything that's familiar to a Call of Duty player that's like, I just want to experience the login, get a bunch of headshots, maybe not necessarily make content around it, but like be entertained for a couple hours before I have to go back to work the next day. That's what you have to provide for Web3 or from Web3 to those people.
No, I agree 100%. And I think you're right. I don't think the average player is interested in knowing the ownership aspect of the asset itself, like how to sell it, how to trade it, or if I can even do that. Most gamers just care about showing off cool shit, right? And we've talked about this before. They just care about showing off their skins in game, being able to show it, being able to put it on, and for other people to see it and be like, holy shit, that guy has that skin because he did this and that, or like he owns it or whatever, And I think you're right. For Web3 games, that should be the same sentiment that we provide players. And if they want to dive into the side of like, oh, wait, I can actually sell this skin or like trade it or like, sell it to somebody else, then they go into that side of the world. But if not, it's just another skin that's going to carry over as the game progresses. And they're still going to be able to showcase this, whether it's in their, in the... open seas, right, or on chain or whatever. It's going to be trackable. There's going to be data behind it that they can show that they own that skin, so I think that's a pretty big part of Web3,
and that is going to trickle down from content creators like us, streamers, Twitter personalities, whoever that makes content in gaming. It's going to trickle down from us to them because they're going to be watching. I'll tell you this, like I've played Valorant like offline sometimes, or I'll play these games offline, and they talk about like esports. They talk about streamers they watch all the time. And like, until those people are doing it and kind of like educating them on that, because a lot of people, believe it or not, a lot of people don't even know that exists still.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a friend, play Fortnite with, they didn't even know about like tradable assets at all, like within games. They didn't even know about the CSGO part. So like, even CSGO is as big as a game as CSGO is. That's not even that big of a deal. The skin trading. So like, I think we're, I keep saying this in Web3, but we're early. We're very early. I think 5 to 10 years time, we're going to see a world where it's going to come more common practice and people are going to be watching their favorite streamers or content creators talking about this stuff in a way that it's relatable. I think that's the biggest thing that's missing in Web3 is that relatability factor, which is what Catalyst brings to the table.
The thing that would make Web3 gaming or crypto gaming, blockchain gaming, whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, it would be something that creates a new medium. So, for example, arcade gaming was a big transition from like standing in front of this gigantic piece of metal that you're pressing a few buttons on, to console gaming at home. Then mobile gaming was like another medium shift where it's like you have this little handheld device in your hand. I think for Web3 gaming to have like its big moment, it would need a new medium. Whether it be, augmented reality, like what's the new version of a console? Because right now everyone keeps talking PC, everyone keeps talking mobile. I'm thinking like, what is the new Xbox that is just born from a native blockchain team that already has Web3 components within it? And exactly what I'm getting to, it's the VR. Because up to this point, VR has never really taken off. and augmented reality hasn't really taken off. And I think that if these games were to just invest in that side of the industry and put Web3/blockchain components, it would feel so much like real life that the blockchain side of it would just make sense. I personally think that these teams, these games have to actually factor in a new medium so that there's a full novelty behind the experience from top to bottom.
Why do you think that BR games or BR in general is not more accepted in a mass adoption kind of way, right? Because, well, you say affordability, right? But a regular a VR headset goes for what, between $200 to $400, right?
Yeah, but
or am I running there? But because consoles go for that price nowadays, and a computer will cost you over $1,500 to get a good PC to run games. So
that is the bare minimum. So that experience hasn't transcended anyone's like I've seen like Asgard's Wrath advertising every time I watch sports, and it's like a VR game. It's for the Meta Quest, right? But it looks like it's PS2, PS3 graphics.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, Ness. Is it also because developers are not optimizing games for VR or even developing games good enough for VR?
The tech is not there yet. To answer your question, the tech is not there yet. So like we're getting to the cusp of like tech actually competing with like, you know, these massive.
We can't hear you at all,
giant consoles that like
now we can hear you. Like you just were too far.
Now that they've been like really. Oh, okay. So like what I'm saying is like these consoles pack way more of a punch in terms of horsepower and computing power than these headsets do. Now the headsets are getting there; they're getting more lucrative and powerful. But it's like the trade off is like, do I want the VR user, and I do a lot of research on the VR stuff, do I want the VR user to have a longer lasting experience or a more immersive experience with AR and VR, right?
Exactly.
And that's kind of the turning point we're at right now, because AR and VR is being focused more on workspace and not so much on gaming. They spent a lot of research and money into like how they can transform the automotive industry, how they can build stuff like that easier. Even the Apple Vision Pro is focused on workspace and lifestyle and experience over gaming, right? So can those products be used to create games and be built around games? Absolutely. But the focus right now in VR is how to get my workers more screens to do way more things in mass quantity and multitask like to the T, right? And gaming is like kind of a mere afterthought of that. And I think at some point the metaverse is going to bring that all together, where you're going to be working in gaming and this is going to be like synonymous. But like I said, the reason why I say affordability is because people see those commercials and they're like, oh, I see like this VR Meta Quest thing, like the third Quest is coming out, cool. But it's like an experience. It's kind of gimmicky. You play it for a couple of hours. It's too heavy on your head. Your back starts hurting. You start sweating. People don't want to be that active, quite frankly. And it's just not the same experience as, you know, picking up a controller and just playing for hours. So that's why. Yeah,
I agree with that. And to add to Missy's point from earlier, right, of like that being like where Web3 games kind of had their effort into, right? I think there's a lot more components into it, right? I think from what you're saying, how the technology behind VR headsets and just overall the whole technology needs to be further developed a little bit more, as well as like we got to understand that blockchain integration in video games itself is still at a pretty new stage also, right? So they need to develop that as well, like blockchain integration into video games successfully, right? And then, so I don't think Web3 games are going to want to invest into that side yet until that technology is further developed to a point where they can reach more audience or more users, right? Maybe the next evolution of gaming will be that, right? Like the one after Web3 gaming. But I see lots of ways that blockchain can be integrated now into the consoles that we have available, into the PCs that we have available, that will make the gaming experience better, you know? But yeah, I do agree with you guys. In the future, I do see VR taking over most of the video games experience. You know, every time I think VR in video games, I'm a big anime fan. I think of Sword Art Online. not of what happens in the anime, but just like the whole immersive experience where they're able to go
See,
into
when
these games.
the way I think
Actually
of it is,
smell
I
what
think of the
they're
90s,
feeling in the
and
games. You know, like
Nintendo
feel the air, like
is,
all those type
in
of
my
sensors. I think
opinion,
that would
at
be
the
really
time,
cool if we
so
ever
innovative
achieve that.
because they put out a flagship product in the Pokemon games, and then they had the Nintendo handheld. So the only way to play Pokemon was by having the Nintendo handheld, right? They found a way to make it go viral with their show and the trading card game and everything. They did so many things right in like a 2-year period that created this massive adoption for the Nintendo handheld, which has gone on to be basically become the Switch today, right? So we're sitting on this. We have this use case in the 90s that showed us how do you drive mass adoption towards a tech product. You create a game and you create a culture around the game, and then you say you can only experience this culture with our product. I think that Web3 gaming companies need to actually look at this, maybe even more on the blockchain side, right? Like we see Solana, they released a phone. Like, why didn't you guys invest that time and that effort to create like a brand new console and partner with game projects on your chain? That would have been so much smarter than a phone. Then you have Gala that wants to be, the one and all and everything blockchain, and they have music and like, why the fuck are you guys making music when you can just make a console and then have all the Gala games on it? And then tell everyone you can't play it unless music, you own this console and their own unique console. Maybe that console has, instead of VR, it has it has AR compatibility. I think augmented reality will have adoption prior to virtual reality. That's just my opinion because you can actually see the stuff in front of you, but you don't have the headset on. Augmented reality is like, the holographic images are in front of you. I think that would make for a very immersive experience prior to virtual reality. It's like almost like setting you up for a VR. If I was one of these blockchain, companies, Gala or Solana, whatever you want, and there's other ones in the works, that's where I would be investing my money. How do I partner with the games on my chain to tell them, hey, let's give you exclusivity to our console and then make these games good enough that if people want to play them, they need the console. And then the console would have the Web3 capabilities in it, but it's not something that you have to sell people on the tech. It's just like an added feature to getting either access to the game or whatever it may be. To me, that would be so much more powerful.
I think that's actually like a very innovative idea, but I wonder what the market for creating a console and marketing it to market, and it be successful is, because there's other people that have tried to develop their own like consoles and they get taken out so quickly by the major companies, like Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, right? Like I think it was Soulja Boy that tried doing like a freaking console and that shit like flopped super hard. So I almost wonder, like, do Web3 companies have the budget? Do they have the budget to even develop a console successfully?
You know that's Soulja. You know what the Soulja Boy game?
It was a scam, right? Like, it was like a scam, right? Like, I know it was a scam, but I'm almost wondering, like, like, why haven't more people done this before, right? Because they know that their competitors are these major companies, right? They know they're going to have to compete against Microsoft. They're going to have to compete against Nintendo. So what is
but in the case of someone
business creating the console from having one of those companies go and replicate their console and just be like, yeah, we have this too, and now you can just buy it for the Xbox.
Patents.
You know what I mean?
Patents.
But that's what I'm saying. How difficult is it to get those patents? Because if there's already a patent that takes care of that,
though, they have to go up against.
You get me? Your console has to have some new innovation that's going to let your patent be approved.
So to me, it's like
if somebody already has a patent, it's not going to get approved.
And like double down on what you have. And the biggest adoption case for blockchain is games.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
no, I agree with you. I just wonder, like, how innovative do you have to be? I agree 100%, but I just wonder how innovative you have to be to make your console have something that won't be able to be replicated by the big companies that are going to take you out in matters of seconds. You get me?
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because I sent you a link. If you could pull that up, where they talked about Zilliqa's Web3 gaming console. It still hasn't come out yet, but they're building a console to compete in the Web3 gaming space to support Web3 games. There's also the Polyum 1 that has a blockchain technology console with gaming hardware. There's also Ultra with partner with AMD. Click the other link. It has what I was saying. Sorry, this is the first one I found. So I haven't seen that launch yet. I can't find anything about the console, but apparently players will be earning ZIL tokens on the Zilliqa console. This is the first like actual dedicated gaming console that I've seen. Click the NFT News Today link, the second one. It's like detailing like what they're trying to build with the gaming console. I guess they pushed it back because they said early 2023, and like we're about to be in Q4, and I can't find anything about it.
Sounds like a flop to me.
Yeah, but you guys say, why don't they make the consoles? Like, well, they are. The people are
that's
trying.
what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. It's like I'm not saying they can't do it or that nobody should do it. I'm just saying what is stopping them, because consoles have been around since the freaking 90s or even probably before that, right? Why hasn't any other company tried to go against the consoles that are in today? And instead we see this console just making new upgrades and new formats of them, right? Like, why hasn't a random independent company go and say, hey, I have the next big console that's going to take out Xbox and PlayStation, and everybody's going to want to play this to access the games that you can play with my console. You get me? Like, why hasn't anybody done that?
Do you remember OnLive or Ouya?
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. So the reason so Ouya was a Android based console where you could like upload your emulators and like indie games onto the Google Play Android software. That flopped because they failed to capture market share. And then OnLive was a cloud gaming console where they were trying to push like cloud gaming over the internet. That flopped as well because no one wanted to play through latency. There's also Stadia that also flopped. So like the reason why you
don't even have to go that far, because look at a brand like Sega Genesis. What happened to Sega Genesis? Why didn't it continue to be a popular console? Because it got taken out by the likes of Nintendo, PlayStation. You get me? Like,
well, it turned into a software company. And if we want to talk about the leaks for a second, the Xbox leak in 2020, they were talking about acquiring Nintendo again because they had tried to acquire Nintendo in the past. And they were trying to convince Nintendo that they're not a hardware company, they're a software company, which I agree with 100% I agree with, because everything they do in software is great.
Yeah.
But all the hardware, like they removed the messaging system they had on the Wii U, but there's no messaging system on the Switch. Like little things like that just don't make sense in today's age where we have instant messaging on everything, right? So like even Nintendo is being talked about being acquired, right? Like they're still trying to acquire Nintendo to this day, right? So the reason why these consoles never, make it is because they don't bring any, like Mizzy was saying, they don't transform anything. They don't bring a product that is like demanded, like we have to play this game.
I think Web3 companies or developers should focus on developing the software that is going to be integrated into the console itself, right? To allow to have a more immersive experience in video games or whatever, and license that software so that all major companies that are developing consoles use it in their consoles. So I made the software, I'm going to go to Xbox and I'm going to tell Xbox, you can pay me to license this software into your console, which is going to allow your users to do A, B, and C, or X, Y, and C, And that is an avenue that is more accomplishable because you can license the product versus having to go against companies that already have major patents that are going to stop you from developing a console that's going to be popular and usable to your audience. You get me? So I think that's a better avenue, in my opinion. I do agree with the idea that you guys have, and I think it's super innovative. I just don't think it's possible because we've had so many years of the same consoles and nobody has done it. Nobody has done this console. And look at the Solana phone, like you guys said. It's going against Android, Apple, and it's not going to be able to compete. I don't care what games they have in there, It's just not going to compete.
And that's why the original point was, like, I get your guys' points, but the original point was how many things did Nintendo have to do right? It's not easy. Nintendo had to launch the TCG that they had Wizards Coast work on. Wizards Coast are the people that did, they did Magic the Gathering. They had Wizards Coast work on the TCG, which led to the rollout of the Nintendo handheld with the game in the Nintendo handheld. And then they had a TV show. They had to hit 4 points and hope that it hit culture in a way that excited people. So what I'm saying is it's not easy at all. But for example, we have Shrapnel, right? Shrapnel is a game that is going to be, up to this point, probably one of the most popular games in Web3 gaming. What blockchain are they on, Hato? You would know better than I would. I think they're on Immutable or
AVAX.
They're on AVAX, but they're also on Ethereum, right? They also minted SCO units on Ethereum and Polygon.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
So that in my mind, that is an opportunity for AVAX to work in tandem with a console maker. It doesn't have to be AVAX making.
Shrapnel is planning to go on console. They're planning to approach Xbox and PlayStation Store
but that's what I'm saying. Shrapnel, AVAX could have paid Shrapnel a little extra. In my mind, I'm telling you, this is how my mind works. AVAX could have paid Shrapnel a little extra money to be a part of our console rollout. We're going to work with this company to create a console based on blockchain technology and release the game. I know that ruins the distribution for Shrapnel. I know that's the counter argument against it. But now you can only play the game on this console. This console has blockchain tech embedded into it, and that's what you do in a rollout.
But that's not my argument. My argument would be that for AVAX to do that, what's stopping Xbox and PlayStation from giving the same deal to Shrapnel and saying yo, okay, I understand AVAX is paying you $20 million to do that. We can pay you $100 million to do that with us. You get me? These companies have so much more money than these platforms, bro. Do you think AVAX can compete with Microsoft, can compete with Sony, even can compete with Epic? And that's a legitimate question. I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm wondering if they can compete with them. Because that's what's going to happen if you have that type of distribution deal on the table.
They don't have to because they're not the ones. So AVAX is trying to get more involved in the console market. They want to put more games on there. And Microsoft isn't. The only thing that I see Microsoft honestly doing is acquiring them. Because if you look at the track record that you want to talk about Microsoft, they acquired the people that made Hellblade. They acquired Bethesda.
They just acquire everyone.
Blizzard. They acquire everyone.
Yeah, so they won the licensing. They won the licensing behind it.
It's not about a bidding war with them. Just Microsoft specifically. Understand that. They would just buy out AVAX or have some kind of now you're our
we're gonna be the bigger umbrella. Yeah, Microsoft is gonna be the umbrella behind all of these other sectors.
By the way, the acquisition of Blizzard was a metaverse play. It was a Web3 play. They made that statement. So I could see a world where they do buy AVAX or buy into AVAX, or maybe they're an investor and we don't even know it.
I mean, Microsoft has dabbled in metaverses and Web3 in general for a while now. They've never executed on something, but they've tried to dabble in many deals and trying to solidify them. So yeah, that's definitely not off the table. I think that's more realistic. And when you're talking about those type of situations, if AVAX has a really good relationship with Shrapnel, for example, right, and they are able to manage that type of deal, you best believe that a company like Microsoft is going to try to acquire them and try to make sure that they're part of that release or part of that console or whatever it is,
because specifically talking about Shrapnel, they have a subnet on AVAX, and the reason why they chose AVAX is because they allowed them to build a subnet for all of their transactions, all their mints, all that stuff. So that's the reason why they chose AVAX in the first place.
Yeah. And listen, I'm a huge fan of Shrapnel. This is the game that I've been anticipating the most for the entire part that I've been in Web3 basically since I discovered gaming in Web3. And I'm freaking excited because they just made an announcement about their release and just accessibility to the game. And we're going to pull it up here in just a second. But this is a game that is actually trying to do ownership in the correct way. And their whole approach is based on player ownership and player development for in-game access. So I'm super excited about them. So let me pull this up real quick so we can check out this trailer that they put out. All right, guys, let's check this out real quick.
Crank it.
Bro, I'm so hyped for a good FPS to come out.
I know, man.
I can tell
This
you
is what we've
that
all been
this is
waiting
a
for.
little different than what I played, and it looks even better. And that what I played looked amazing even without a crosshair.
So it says Shrapnel is now live on Epic Game Store. Put it on your wish list today and extract in one of the most anticipated FPS games, dude. You best believe as soon as I saw this, I went to the Epic Game Store and I put that thing on my wish list right away. How are you guys feeling, man? When I saw that trailer, I was super pumped.
I mean, gee, I don't.
Yeah,
know.
No, I don't want to hear you. I know.
I don't know, man. I really don't know about this team from. No, dude. This is the marquee name. This is the system seller with no system, right? I mean, the system is like PC right now, console in the future. I don't know if AVAX comes out with a console or if it's, you know what I think they should do. Someone approach one of the two companies, Sony or Microsoft, and have time exclusivity. Because then you have that rarity of like, oh, I have to have an Xbox to play it on console. I can't play it on Sony. Or vice versa. I can't play it on Xbox. I have to have a PS5. So like having that exclusivity might make the game sell even more, in my opinion, especially if it's so fucking good. But like the visuals looks AAA to me. They took their time with this one. You can tell, and they have these dev diaries to show like how far they've progressed, right? And I got to play the game at Consensus April of this year, 2023, and even without like too much UI or like menus or whatever, just getting in the game and experiencing it, seeing all the particle effects, the sirens going off, the loud explosions, the immersive environments, how dark areas are and how bright areas are, just to make it feel like the realism and stuff. I was sold from the trailer. I was sold by the idea on the website last year in June, and they already had me sold even without a crosshair because, dude, I was immersed in the game. I was like, dude, my eyes were, you couldn't see my eyes during the recording because I posted me recording it on Twitter, me playing it, but my eyes were wide open the whole time because I was totally immersed in this world, and I was fearful when these things were flying down, the sirens are going off and shit. I am so excited for this game.
Yeah, dude, I'm super pumped, man. I'm super pumped to try it out. To me, the game looks, like you said, I love that they took their time creating this stuff, right? Like, I love how realistic they made it look. And if you look at their advisory board, they actually have people from the military that have years of experience with Teen Navy SEAL, like all that type of stuff. So they, I'm sure they use that to their advantage while developing the game to make it as realistic as possible. So I do think it's awesome how realistic it is. It's refreshing to me to see a game like this, and that they decided to go with the route of extraction, because so many of the FPS that we see coming into the space, or just in the gaming industry in general, is so esports oriented. You get me? Like, they're trying to make it a competitive like scene, blah blah blah, right? And I love that scene. Don't get me wrong, but I miss a good shooter that is just more entertainment value and entertainment focus, right? Like, such as extraction system, right? When you're talking about an extraction game, it's like an open like battle, everyone for themselves. You're trying to get the best loot, and it's just pure entertainment, especially when it's action packed like Shrapnel is, right? Like when you have world elements like blowing up, sirens coming in, and then all of a sudden you're having actual teams shooting at you trying to take your loot. All of that becomes so immersive, and I miss that experience in shooters. So I'm that's what gets me excited for Shrapnel.
And what gets me excited, and I'll let Mizzy go. Sorry, I'm talking too long, Mizzy. I'll let you go in just a second, brother.
No worries,
the one thing that gets me the most excited is the UGC aspect of it. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because they have said in the past in Twitter Spaces, and I'm holding to this Shrapnel team because you said it on Twitter Spaces recorded. You guys have said that you want it to be like Roblox in terms of UGC. What that means to me, it's a sandbox experience at the end of the day as well. Yep. So not only is it a extraction shooter, which I fall in love with Dead Drop's version of that. Like, I would love to see their version of that as well. Oh, I mean, I played it. It's fun. I got mad when I lost everything. I got killed. But anyways, the UGC part of it is what I'm super excited for, because when they pull people from the war Warface, not Warface, the other war game.
Warframe.
I always forget that fucking name. Warframe community, and Roblox community. People that are taking time to create content within the game. That gets me excited because not only is that going to build new experiences for Shrapnel to be like this kind of sandbox type experience, but it's going to create that economy that people are just thirsting for in a Web3 game where there's activity, trading, not just like, prospecting and oh, this might go up because of no. We are talking about actual use case and utility and value derived from that value. I need that skin because it makes me feel good, like Cloud says in the game, but it also, I just mowed people down with it, or I need these attachments, I need to buy something, or I need to mint something real quick so I can make a buck and become an arms dealer. All the endless possibilities in this game.
Well, real quick to your point, in UGC, right? That's a whole different world as far as like showing your assets off, right? Because it's a very big difference of me killing you with an asset that I earned in game versus me killing you or seeing another player kill you with an asset that I created, right? If I created the skin for the weapon you're using, and now I see you using it in your content or whatever, or I see people using it in game to kill each other, or I myself use it to kill you, that's a completely different feeling. When going back to like Call of Duty real quick, because you know me, guys, that's my game. That's like the game that I played for the longest time. But back in the Black Ops 2 days, you used to be able to create your own emblem. And you could do anything you wanted. I mean, anything. I created like Ted, like the teddy bear from like the movie Ted. I created him as an emblem, and he was wearing like a Rambo like ammo pack around with a bandana, and he was like supposed to be like the Rambo Ted, right, in Call of Duty. And I love nothing more than to record myself killing people and watching them rage about the fact that Ted killed them in game. Fucking this guy like dressed up as Ted, like fucking killing me with a shotgun. You get me? Like that type of shit like made the game so much fun. And when you can create your own assets in game and have some type of emotional connection to those assets that you're using, it becomes a whole different world of bragging rights, right? Like that's a completely different story when it comes to bragging. If I can say Hado was using my skin to kill Missy, and I saw that shit live, I saw it when we were in game, that's a completely different dopamine effect.
To say that the UGC aspect is the thing that I'm most excited for is an understatement. As you guys know, we got offers for Fortnite maps with our guild. We had three different companies contact us and offered to create a Fortnite map for our guild. And we denied every single one of them. Why? Because we don't want a Fortnite map. We want to experience Shrapnel first. And then if it's everything that we're hoping for, which, Shrapnel, please don't let us down, because we're betting on you guys on not on like a monetary level, but like on a hopium, like hopeful level. We're betting on you guys. We wanted to have one of the first ever Shrapnel maps. That's what one of our goals is. And that's something that excites me tremendously because as you guys know, we've been working on all the branding. So we would be able to make a really, really cool and immersive map with all the little assets that we built for
in-game
our
marketing.
brand.
Yep.
In-game marketing and all the really exciting things that we want to try out with the potential maps that we've even discussed up to this point. And I think that is the future of even guilds in general, building your own game and connecting with your community on that level where it's like this community-owned game. And Shrapnel creates that possibility for guilds like us, right? Because there is an economy in it. And even if you have like an artsy person inside of your guild, maybe their job is to work more on the design side of things than actually being an FPS sweat. I think that these types of economies and these types of sandbox style experiences allow you to bring together a community in a way that isn't available in pretty much anywhere else. Roblox has it a little bit, but even Roblox, it's still missing a fundamental theme around its game. It's just like blocks characters. It's not an FPS game by nature. So I like the fact that Shrapnel is directing you in an FPS vision, and you're building a community around that type of a game. And obviously, we do play other types of games in Web3 and, in our guild as well. But we all know that the genre that will bring any form of mass adoption is going to be an FPS. And I would personally like to double down on a game like that because it's one, it looks cool as shit, and two, I can make it my own.
Real quick, because I love that topic that you just brought up, right? And I think it is the future of guilds. And I agree with you 100% on the point that we've been waiting for a game that as a guild we can kind of like work with and immerse ourselves into that sector, right? And what I do like about Shrapnel is their ability to own land, right? Basically map ownerships, because as a guild, if we own a couple of maps, right, and we have different maps for different purposes, like events, esports, right, and then we have one that is specifically just as a guild hub, and we can have our guild members go in there and basically design their guild hole, right, like their hub, like for the guild in a map in a game, which would be super cool, where people can come in, show off their assets in game, like show off guild related assets that they've created. I mean, the ideas for in-game marketing is endless, and in-game branding, right, it's endless, man, endless. So yeah, I love all of it, man. I love all of it, and like I'm super excited, as you guys can see.
The reason why I look like I'm in pain right now is because I'm dying to speak about what's in my brain, and stay with me here. Red versus blue.
Exactly.
Right? That
Dude,
kind of concept
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The concept of creating story and lore and comedy with this UGC world that's super serious. Dude, it's just like
but also,
the curveball that we need.
But also, to add to Missy's points, bro, it allows brands like ours, like organization like ours, or company like ours, right, to even create jobs within their communities, right? Like I'm seeing this, like we're creating, like if we were to purchase a land, right, like if we were to purchase a map for the guild, right, like now Catalyst OG owns a map within the Shrapnel ecosystem, right? We can promote ourselves and have somebody like our guild member HD Olivares, right, who does educational workshops on how to develop inside Unreal Engine, right? Like he's already creating maps, he's already trying to create video games and develop them, right? We can easily like talk to him and be like, yo, why don't you come and develop our map, in Shrapnel? And now he's doing something that he's passionate about. He can make content with, he can stream it and have like an open development that we love in Web3, right? Where he's streaming and creating content on how he's developing our map inside Shrapnel. I mean, dude, like let's stop talking, because we're giving out the sauce here,
We're giving out way too much.
Let's move on. Let's keep it going. We're going too much alpha, guys.
We know a lot of these guys.
Shrapnel, we have our call in October. We'll talk.
We'll talk to you guys in October, Shrapnel. We're looking forward to our call. And guys, we can't give so much alpha. We know we're on a lot of people's mood boards. We know you guys. You guys watch everything we do and try to copy it. We see you, and we're glad to provide inspiration and influence. You're welcome.
But anyways, man, I do think Shrapnel is a game like, this. I'm glad we talked about this right after Call of Duty, because I do think what Call of Duty is doing, not even Call of Duty. Let me not put shame on Call of Duty, because Call of Duty has had some great developing teams. Activision. What Activision is doing with their games is straight up criminal. It's just from somebody that has been playing the game for over 13 years and buying it every year and spending a lot of money on assets, and to see just other gamers experience like their assets being wiped out and not even have an opinion about it or a say. It's just, bro, like we need to move on from that world. Like the gaming world is evolving, and if you don't like it, that's cool, but it's gonna happen. All right. So our ecosystem, our technology that we're trying to implement in this game, such as Shrapnel, it's going to happen. That's where developing teams are seeing the future is, and that's what's going to happen whether you like it or not. Now, luckily, games such as Shrapnels are doing their best to make the experience as seamless as possible, right? There is an approach where you can have a game that still targets the casual gamers, like traditional gamers mentality, right? Without having to be involved with the blockchain tech, the NFT part of things, all of that, right? And we've talked about this as well, where games you have two avenues, one that doesn't involve blockchain, one that does. And if you want to experience the blockchain side of things and get more involved with that world, then there's ways to learn about it. There's ways to find it out in game, But I do think eventually all games are going to have some type of blockchain technology in it.
I agree.
And getting back to the the UGC side of Shrapnel, like creating unique esports experience would be very interesting. And with that, comes a different level of integration with other tech, right? Esports is something that needs to be innovated on. Esports is something that, at least in the West, sucks currently. A lot of people haven't been able to crack the code with esports. And, we have our own, our own interesting and potentially innovative ideas of how esports can go going forward, with both things like custom maps and, something that we've been talking about is like social-fi and stuff like that. So that's I could see Shrapnel really helping innovate that side of things as well.
Yes, dude. Let's talk about that actually, because that was an idea that you and I talked about in the background, and I freaking love it. And the whole idea started kind of like as a joke, right? Like we were just fucking around about talking crap about Friendtech and the drama that's going on over there, and how people are getting upset at each other for not holding each other's keys or whatever the hell. I mean, listen, man, it sounds like a cool like innovation. It sounds like some type of cool technology for you to for wait, hold up, bro. I'm about to switch to my poker glasses as well if you're gonna do me like that. But listen, no, I think if you are a creator that has a strong community and you've been taking care of your community and incentivizing your communities with different innovations and different things such as badges or NFTs and stuff like that, Friendtech could be a cool platform for you. But a lot of these people are just like abusing their influence and just getting people to buy their keys for absolutely no purpose.
It's dumb.
And it's becoming like a trader's market out there. People are flipping keys and type of shit. Like, I have no interest in that. But Missy and I were joking around how we should 1v1 to see who buys each other's key. And basically just do like a 1v1, and whoever loses will have to buy the other person's key and hold it for at least 30 days. Right. So that's how the whole idea came up. But then Missy actually started thinking about it. And Missy, go ahead and start like talking about it, bro, because the idea that you came up with is
for sure. Like, and if you wouldn't mind pulling up the tweet so we can show the message.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna do comedic relief while we wait. I've got balls of steel.
Yo, what the fuck?
But yeah, this was a message. Oh wait, isn't that from the movie about like ping pong or something? No,
that's
Balls
Duke
of Fury.
Nukem. That's Duke Nukem.
Yeah,
I missed
Balls
that, bro.
of Fury.
My bad.
But so what ended up happening is we had our friend Raiden who sold Sanjay's. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Sanjay.
Yeah,
or Sanjay. I guess it's Sanjay's key. And it was like a really funny thing in one of these chats that we're a part of, that, Raiden sold Sanjay and he was trolling him, and they were having a back and forth. And it reminded me a lot of the banter that we have amongst, the five of us in Catalyst and some of the rest of the guild members, where we love shit talking each other. Obviously, no one ever takes it personal, but that's what we do. So I got this image in my head of like, how funny would it be for me to, beat Clouds at something and then he has to buy my key. And it's this idea in my head where it's like, I'm playing against Clouds and like, yeah, bro, because Clouds doesn't want to make a Friendtech. So it was like, even taking it a step further, if I beat Clouds in a 1v1, you have to make a Friendtech and you have to buy my key. So I was just playing around with them. But then I really started thinking about it, and how entertaining could that be? Like from an entertainment standpoint, you put two people beefing against each other. For example, something we recently had in the space was Kagi and Bryson were kind of subtweeting at each other, shit talking each other. It would have been really funny to come out with some sort of like tournament pool and be like, listen, whoever wins gets $1,000 donated to like a charity or something like that. But the real thing is if Bryson wins, Kagi has to buy Bryson's key. Or if Kagi wins, Bryson has to buy Kagi's key. And then you have like this public shaming on chain, right? Where they have to hold the key for maybe 3 to 6 months. They're getting roasted because they're holding the key. Like it just becomes this banter, like this joke.
Well, it's that bragging rights that we keep talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And then I started thinking about it further, and it's like, this would be a very innovative model for like an esports org or something like that. Because let's say you own my key. And let's say we made like a Catalyst OG, key that you could buy, and you gain access to behind the scenes. You get all the early things we get to see, you would also get to see. If you want to be able to vote on things that we're doing, if you own the key, you would have like a say in everything going on. I think it would be a very interesting social experiment to see how maybe potentially buying into a team's key can affect outcomes. And then there's kind of a degen side when it comes to a platform like Friendtech, where a lot of people like to sell and buy keys and speculate on the value of that. So what if, leading up to an event, we were to have a tournament with, one person, like let's say Bryson and Kagi, using that example again. People would probably start buying their keys to speculate on who was going to win. It would drive some sort of market. So it's like almost like a new iteration of sports betting.
Yes.
And
Dude,
that is what entertains me.
there's so many avenues with this idea, bro. So many avenues. And you're right. It is like a new innovation of sports betting, right? Because, like, to me, all I kept thinking about when you told me about this, like, in the esports perspective, was celebrity deathmatch, right? Like, you get two people that have some type of feud or drama behind it, and you find a very friendly way to settle it, right? Which is
Exactly.
a 1v1 in a video game. Anybody can do it. Anybody knows what that is. And then you have that bragging right that if you win, you have this person hold your key for like a certain amount of time, right? Like 3 to 6 months, whatever, right? But then that makes the other person want the rematch, right? I don't want to hold your key, and I want to make sure I beat you. I want my rematch. You get me? So I'm gonna hold it for 3 to 6 months, but I want my rematch clause. You know, after those 3 6 months, we come back for a rematch and we see who's the real winner. You know, like that's the type of effect that would have on that, right? Like, and I think it will create this whole new community of like mixing together the whole new celebrity boxing that we've seen with YouTube and bring our own perspective into the Web3 gaming world of like having this celebrity deathmatch, sports betting community around this new innovation of friend tech, which already has a lot of drama behind it. There's already like a big like division in that platform of people that are trying to like become traders through it, and people that are just holding their friends assets because they want to support, or just people that are part of a community like someone like Bryson, for example, who has a strong community. People buy their his keys because he's giving them, badges or like different incentives, and they just want to support him, right? They're not really trying to buy it to sell it or like trade it or make money out of it. So there's different avenues as to how you can hit different targeted audiences in this idea. And I think it would be pretty cool, man. I like the idea of having like an attachment to like some type of charity. So if you get big influencers, like, hey, like just settle it in the arena, game of your choice, 1v1. Whoever loses has to get the key from the other person. That will be the bragging rights. But then we'll work with our partners, our sponsorships, to raise a prize pool that's going to go to a charity of your choice. I think that's a beautiful idea. It does really good for the community. It helps people out, and there's a lot of entertainment value coming out of it.
Absolutely. We're having fun and we're innovating. And something that, as you and I started talking about the celebrity death match, and, like, even though Hato and the rest of the guys weren't a part of the particular conversation, like, the energy is still there. Like, the idea was inspired by our entire group. Like, I would love to see Hato in a 1v1, making somebody buy his key. That shit would be fucking hilarious. Because I know he would talk so much shit the entire time the person's holding the key. So it would make it really interesting.
Dude, I would love to see Hato shoutcasting the match.
That too.
Like, imagine Hato being the shoutcaster of a celebrity deathmatch in Web3. Yeah. That would be freaking amazing.
And it made me start thinking of esports in a way, because I have a really, I'm a co-founder in Paladins DAO now, but I have a really big problem with esports. I think it's very fragmented. It's very difficult to, like, for example, basketball. We know there's the NBA, and then there's literally everyone else. Like, you can't do that in esports because it's always based around a game. It's always based around, different leagues within that game. It's so confusing. So I honestly think it reminds me a lot of martial arts. I did Muay Thai as a kid not a kid, but like late teens for a while. And when you look at martial arts, you have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have Muay Thai, you have Kung Fu, you have Karate, you have Taekwondo. It's very similar to games in the sense that there's way too many different genres. So you end up with things like the boxing league. You end up with things like the mixed martial arts, the UFC. So I started thinking of esports as boxing events and UFC events. So it's like UFC 1, UFC 2. I could see us all coming together to create like the future of UFC, but for games where it's one competitor against another competitor. Or maybe we even do like an Avengers kind of thing where it's like a 4v4 or something like that. But ultimately, it's based around this event that's like a UFC championship kind of thing. And you bring in a bunch of people to have almost like a scorecard. You have the first round, the second round, and then the final round. Or the main event. You bring people together in a way like boxing, but you're playing games. And I think that would be so much more entertaining anyways. Yeah, it doesn't have the same exact team dynamic. But being honest, there's no money in Western esports anyways because the teams are asking for so much money. I actually think that if we were to do something where we're building this, this new community around the idea of maybe one or two bigger names, and they're doing 1v1s, or they're bringing their friends along with them to compete in, missions with them. We can sponsor these events and do a very similar like prize pool to what's being done in boxing. And that helps with distribution. That helps, the teams behind the actual gamers themselves. You don't have to go ahead.
No, sorry. I thought you were
No,
done.
it's all
My
good.
bad.
It's all good.
So I was just going to add, like, to me, the idea of esports, like, I agree with you 100%. I think esports is really hard to make profit on. It's all about viewership and how many eyes you have on your league or whatever event that you're throwing. You get me? So if there's no eyes on it, nobody's watching it, no brand's going to want to get involved or get behind it or sponsor it or any of that stuff, So to me, esports, when I see people talk about an esports approach in Web3, right now as it sits, as we are in Web3, the current stage that we're in, I find it a little bit silly because there's not that many completed games that are esports based out there. There's no viewership. Nobody's actually like watching these events to a mass amount, right? Like where big brands will want to get involved, right? So the idea of having like an esports right now in Web3 is just kind of silly to me. What we need, in my opinion, is more entertainment-led ideas, right? Like we need more events that are entertainment-led rather than skill-based led, right? We need more eyes in our world. We need more eyes in our ecosystem, right? So we need to bring people the interest and the entertainment to want to sit there and see the content that we're producing. Yes, Hado?
If you look at Twitch, and I'm using OTK as example, they focused on one thing: shows, and shows is how you get the people that still want to compete and be competitive, but you get a broader audience that can be relatable. And I use the word relatable a lot because that is the main selling point for Twitch streamers, in my opinion. Is the reason why people fuck with people on Twitch is because it's relatable. So like if you look at a show like Schooled on the OTK network, right? Ms. Kiff will host, I think it's 10 people or 8 people. I forget the number, but they have like questions at first grade level, second grade level, whatever. And it's basically the show, is
are you smarter than a fifth grade?
Yeah, exactly. And they like, we didn't copy them, but whatever. You guys did. You basically copied that. You copied Family Feud. You did a bunch of different things. Anyways, what they do with that is they get the people that want to compete and the people that aren't really competitors in the same room.
Yeah.
And those communities come together and they build a network of community, right? People will find a new person, or they might find Ms. Gift to be annoying and they don't want to listen to him ever again, but they find another person they like, another personality. And that's how these communities cross-pollinate and create like a larger network of following. And that's how you see a streamer go from 1,000 viewers to 10,000 viewers within a week. And so like what happens with this kind of dynamic that we're creating here is that you're focusing on the show aspect of it with a competitive spirit to it, meaning there's something to compete, bet against, bet for, but there's still something there that's there for every viewer. And that relatability factor is important because when you go to watch a League of Legends esports game, you may know nothing about League, but you can relate to like the people shouting the game.
Well, you're there to support the team that you like the brand that you're associating with.
But I'm talking about someone that's an outsider, right? An outsider to the esports realm of League of Legends. Mm-hmm. They might be able to like pick up the concept that there's a sporting event, it's competitive, and there's like a match going on, right? But you don't have that relatability of saying they're going to take Baron, tier 1 tower, tier 2 tower, etc. When you have something that's like a show, the difference there is that everything is relatable in the show, or most things are relatable in the show. Like everyone can relate to being in college or high school doing questions like that, or even elementary. So that's why that 5th grader show is very relatable.
Yeah.
You have shows that people are competing in boxing, whatever. That's way older than any other esports, right? So the shows is what's really caught more attention on Twitch, in my opinion, than an independent streamer playing Valorant for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is because of that relatability factor. And so what you're building here with FriendTech, it has this kind of like it kind of has like the glass half full relatability where it's like, oh, well, these are my friends. Okay, I can relate in that way. But how you make it more broader and more open, and this idea that you guys came up with is a great idea to like fill in that gap.
Well, yeah, and I think everything you were saying lies under the entertainment value, right? Like to put it into another platform, right, or another sector, like Fortnite has done it before too, right? Where they did that event where it's like a celebrity playing with an esport player, right? Like they had Ninja playing with a football player, they had Courage playing with somebody else, blah blah blah. It was a massive event, hundreds of streamers and hundreds of content creators put together in a massive arena that had more viewership than whatever national championship for Fortnite esport had. You get me? So people want that, like you're saying, that relation, that relatability when it's entertainment, right? Like when they're being entertained and they can still stay glued to the screen to watch what happens next. So yeah, I think that's the approach we need with an esport in Web3 currently, because we don't have any game that's popular enough to have an esport that's competitive based or skill based that, you know, it's going to require to have orgs playing for them, because like Missy said, the expectation now for esports players is completely different than it was back in like 2009, 2010. You get me? Back in those days, an esport player was fine making like maybe like $500 to $1,000 plus whatever the price pool was, right? Nowadays, an esport player comes with the expectation of like, yo, I want like a 30 to 40K salary pay monthly. We want travel pay, we want accommodations paid, we want food paid, and we want the fees to the tournament paid. And on top of that, we want a cut of the price pool, and we want marketing, and we want a piece of the skins like Valorant did, right? Like we want a piece of the skin that you're selling with our branding on it. All of this stuff, all these expectations that players have now make it really hard for startups to have the funding to be able to sustain that. And that's why I think esports is a very tricky world because it requires a lot of funding.
And on the flip side of that, real quick, on the flip side of that, more is expected out of them because they have to stream, they have to obey by brand policy, so they can't be an asshat online. You know, they have to be in the limelight now, so they're treated as like a celebrity athlete. So anything they do is under the microscope. Yep. So, in the flip side, a lot is expected of them. Go ahead, Missy.
And there's just a certain level of sexiness that's missing from that side of esports. It's very nerdy. No offense to, I'm a fucking gamer, so I don't have to care if I'm offensive. It's fucking nerdy as shit. Like, there's no sexiness. You know, boxing promoters, you have Don King, you had Oscar De La Hoya. Like, these guys knew how to sell a fucking fight. They got your ass there. They even right now we're having, we've had Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul going on for a minute. When you start going with an esports approach, right? I'm not going to comment what I feel about the situation, but let's think about the promotion of that. If a fight actually happens, Dylan Dennis has put on a master class of fucking marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So how fun would it be if there was three parts to every fight, right? You have the fighter on the left side, the gamer on the left side, the gamer on the right side, and then you have a promoter of sorts in the middle, and helping hype up, create distribution for events and stuff like that. Then you have, how funny would it be if someone did take a Dylan Dennis style marketing approach where they're finding all the flops that person has done in previous games, and they're just like posting and be like, "You're trash as fuck."
Dude, you can't even do a pre-fight conference, like
yeah, exactly.
Like that would be fucking awesome.
And it's like just like a montage of all that other person's fails, and like every time they post a clip, they just talk shit and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so much more entertainment value around these types of ideas in traditional esports. And again, I grew up watching boxing a lot. I grew up doing martial arts. Before Muay Thai, I boxed as a kid. So it's like, for me, it's very relatable to find a way to make esports feel like boxing in a way. It's very offensive to the current esports industry, the way that it is. But I honestly think we need change in that market as well. So there's opportunity here for it.
I think it's very important because, again, we're focusing on the Web3 ecosystem, right? If we were to do this in the traditional gaming aspect, it would be more difficult, in my opinion, because there's already a culture of esports in that world, right? So using that word of esports, right, it's going to have a certain expectation for traditional gamers. With Web3, you can really change the perspective on that. And like what you're saying, Messi, be really disruptive in the sense of like, we're calling this celebrity deathmatch thing an esports because we're playing video games, right? We're doing 1v1s on video games, so that's the esport element on it. But in reality, it's more of an entertainment sport, right? Like kind of like what you have going on with the celebrity YouTube fighting boxing thing, you know? It's not like most real like boxers would be like, yo, that's like, how can you consider this real like boxing? You know, like we fucking trained for fucking years to make it here, and you're calling this shit. But hey, that shit is more entertaining than any traditional boxing fight that I've seen in a long time. You get me? And not to say that this creators are putting the work. They go into training camp, you know, they train for like 6 to 9 months, whatever. It's not, I get it, it's not the same amount of years that you put in, but they're making it more entertaining. They're bringing crowds and involving them by creating all the banters, like they're selling a UFC match. You didn't see that in traditional boxing. You know, they did one press conference and that's it, and there wasn't really any banter going on between the fighters, you know?
There's also like this one boxing event that happened. I don't even call it event, but Aiden Ross was streaming on Kick, and he had his friend Prime, and John Zerka was talking shit to him, whatever, and they had a fight there.
He popped his shoulder.
Yeah, and it was like the shortest, like simplest, like bad weight class, right? Because he's like a big guy. This other guy's like scrawny little black dude, right? Like, no offense to him, but he's you're not the same size, and like. Not only did like John Zerka was treating, by the way, the entire time that like they were delaying it and just talking shit, tweet after tweet after tweet. And even Dylan Dennis was on it. Like, Zerka, I'm not waiting for this anymore. And you know what it did? It boosted the views. Like, I forgot the number. I think it was 140 or 150. It was high up there, bro. Like the number of viewership that people were just trying to tune in to watch this fight. And the fight was ass. Like, let me get like the fight was ass. It wasn't a really good fight, but that wasn't the point. The point was you had three big entertainers that were putting on a show the entire time.
Exactly.
Over a silly little feud, right? But the entertainment value was there. I was sitting there waiting to start my stream because I wanted to see what was going to happen. And I waited over an hour for this guy to show up.
Dude, it's that entertainment value that you're talking about, right? Like, think about this, right? Everybody's been talking about the Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul fight, right? Everyone has been talking about it. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. It can be a news outlet on your regular cable, anywhere. You're going to see it, right? The reason people are talking about it is because all the drama that this guy brought up with Logan's fiance, right? Like, she's a fucking dick grabber. She fucks anybody, like, blah, 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 all that type of shit, right? That's the only reason this fight is so popular. This is the undercard for the actual fight. The actual fight is KSI versus Tommy Fury, right? And talk about like a size difference, right? Tommy Fury is a fucking monster. Yeah, the main card is KSI versus Tommy Fury. This is where this fight is happening. Nobody's talking about that fight because this thing has become so big and so entertaining to people's mentality and drama-driven factor, right? That everybody's just talking about this fight because they want to see Dylan Dennis get fucking mopped or like Logan Paul lose and be in shame forever. You get me? Like, that's what people care about. But the real fight is KSI versus Tommy Fury, you know? Like, so it's just funny. It's funny to see what entertainment can do to boost engagement, keep retainment of viewership, all that type of stuff, you know? So I think when you think about like a company like Frentech, and the culture that is being created around there, where people are doing this, what you see here on screen right now, where they're tweeting out who has bought their keys, who has sold their keys, it's already creating that drama factor of like, yo, you're publicly putting me out there. And, you know, you're saying you don't like that I sell your keys, and now people are looking at me like I just sell keys, anyone's keys, you know, and I don't hold anything or whatever, you know? Like, that type of shit creates that banter mentality of like, yo, why are you publicly putting me out there? Like, you know, like, I'm not cool with that, you know? And it creates that drama of like entertainment that you would need for like something like the idea that Missy came up with.
Yes, sir. I can't wait to experiment with it. You know, something that I do think is ironic about esports is it's esports. So like, what entertainment my guy, sport. We're going to put, you know, I took the position at Paladins, and, you know, we've always worked very closely with them since we started. And my goal with the partnership between Paladins and Catalyst is to put the entertainment into esports. I don't want this corny shit that we've been seeing.
Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Let's put entertainment back into esports. Let's do away with the nerd ship and let's make it sexy.
I hate to burst your guys' bubble, but
it doesn't stand for entertainment.
It stands for electronic sports.
Yeah, but that's bullshit.
No.
But if you put the,
I knew that it stood for electronic sports. My point is, let's change it into entertainment sports because electronic sports are fucking boring.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. It makes more sense as like entertainment because all of esports is surrounded around entertainment, bro. The reason people want to sit and watch players play a video game for hours is because they fuck with the player that is playing that video game. I watch Optic play because I fuck with Optic Scumpy and I want to see him beat every other player. You get me? And I support Optic. I'm not watching because I want to see 7 hours of Call of Duty gameplay. Like, fuck that shit. I can just be playing the game myself, you know? I'm watching it because I'm entertained by the creators that I admire and the players that I admire, and seeing them play and beat on other players are at their skill level. You get me?
Mizzy, you put that on a fucking t-shirt and don't you let anybody fucking take it. You heard it here first. Mizzy said he put the E in esports for entertainment.
So what are we going to do in Web3? Since we don't have any fully developed games that we can actually make an esport around it, we're going to make esport be an entertainment sport. We're going to bring the entertainment back to esport, like Missy's saying.
That's right, baby. That's how we handle things. And I'm watching all you motherfuckers that like to copy us. So just know, I'm gonna be, if I see it start coming out and people start acting like they came up with this shit, you best believe you're going to be buying my motherfucking keys.
We're going to be challenging you to a 1v1. For real.
We got the receipts.
This is a perfect stopping point, guys. Great episode. Thank you guys for listening to episode 4 of The Catalyst Effect. We'll be back next Friday with the next episode. See you guys later. Peace.
Later, homies. I've got balls of steel.